So for tonight's stream, we've got what I can only assume is called Goodnight Meowmie. And I've said that about 10 times before going live. I'm trying to think if there was maybe a slightly different way of saying it. Meowmie? Meow. Meowmie. Goodnight Meowmie. Also, I had like the. Okay, that is right. Okay. First hurdle cleared. Hopefully the game doesn't like weirdly expand. I assumed if it was, you would have alerted me, but I assume it's not going to expand beyond that range, but I can always adjust if need be. I'm getting more and more comfortable with OBS as we. That's the whole point. That's the best part. I need to get more and more comfortable doing weird things with OBS. I'll get to introducing this in just a second. I also just want to say I'm really glad that I'm doing this because with the new PC and everything, like I've been wanting to do. I want to do more different stuff. I want now that the possibilities are more open. I want to do different stuff, weird stuff, things I would never have considered playing, seeing, reading, whatever it may be. So Goodnight Meowmie. Like I said, mystery is something I fear. I don't know if, like, I honestly spent the whole day. Okay, let me set this up, especially for like the archive and stuff, because I'm archiving this as well. When I played this, I was like, I wish. Oh, see, this. I'm also excited though because I'm excited if, especially if there's something that like you're directly thinking I would enjoy, or at least would create a good, a stream, a good something. You clearly know that there's something's gonna happen, and so I've spent, as I was saying, I spent most of the day trying to think what your read on me is and why I would. What I'm gonna get out of this. So yeah, setting it up for the archive and everything, especially the. I don't even know what brought upon this whole conversation, but at some point, you had just mentioned like, "Hey, there's something that I definitely want you to play now that you're getting this all set up and everything." And immediately I was intrigued. I will even whenever I consider a friend or something of mine considering something like, oh, I think this would be an interesting play for you. Like I always take recommendations, especially when it comes in like the world of games, seriously. Well, not seriously. I don't know if that's the right word I'm aiming for, but like, I always take them to heart. Like I find them if I feel like the person is taking like an interest in like, oh, I think you would actually enjoy this, or I think you'd find it interesting, or I think you'd think the concepts are interesting, or you'd have, fun or whatever. But like, especially if it's someone who now at this point I feel like Udis, friend of the channel, friend of the stream, friend in real life. Like me well enough where it's like, oh, this person's recommending something and think I would actually appreciate something. I mean, I guess we'll see at the end of it if like I don't think this is you, but part of me thinks it's like I ran the option of like, is this some kind of screamer game? Is this gonna be some shitty like game, honestly. But I think better of you. So don't squander it. So yeah. That sounded kind of rude. I didn't mean it to be rude. I was just saying. So yeah. Friend of the channel, Dissonant Hearts, I refer to as Dis, recommended me playing this game. Said it's not too long. I'm hoping it's got some length though, because I'm curious. Depending on I guess how late it is, and then mood of chat, mood of me, we'll see what we do after this ends, if it ends. Maybe it's a never-ending game, you know? Okay, the mouse is visible. We're okay. Stream is okay. Tech-wise, everything is good. I don't know if there's audio to this game. I assume I just click run game. I'm like nervous. I'm hovering. Goodnight Meowmie. Yes, of course, made with Unity. Coco Moss. It's good. It's good. Good name. I'm gonna fiddle with the audio a bit, but if you want the, if it needs to be bumped, just let me know. It looks wholesome. I don't know if, well, immediately my mind goes to like games that are intentionally throwing you off. Like I don't know if I'm supposed to be thinking about this higher level or if I'm just supposed to sink into this. Oh, here we go. Oh my god! Buenas noches! Meowmie. Just 2 languages. I was ready to read every language for Meowmie. Buenas noches. Part of me wants to play in Spanish. Oh my god. That strut. That strut. Picked up food. Picked up food. Meowmie, my one true friend. The fact that his health bar is even just a little bit low, and it's not 100%, makes me a little sad. Oh my god. Hold it. Did I not even see that option? I was so concerned about the bars. Oh, why am I immediately attached to this Meowmie? Come with me into the bed. What do you want? Meowmie seemed to like that. Oh, what simplistic but adorable animations this is. It's Meowmie and me. This is adorable. Now, if this ends up having some really, like, horrific twist, I'm gonna be very upset. I've got... Meowmie is the best. Meowmie is the best. Immediately has jumped many things to claim spot as best. Full happy. Oh my god. There we go. Full meters. Meowmie. Okay. I don't know. You look full. Good. I don't know if you're gonna follow me out the door. Oh. Goodnight, Meowmie. Why do I have some eerie feeling about this window? Oh, what the fuck? Meowmie, let's just ignore the outside. Let's just... Whoa! No! Quit game. Exit. Exit. Immediately. I'm upset. I need to leave for a bit to go find food for you. I'll be back soon, okay? I know, I'm the same. I'll miss you too. Oh no. The least I could do is get the full happiness before I leave. Oh no. Okay. Meowmie, please don't do anything bad. Oh god, okay. Check your corners. Oh. Oh, it's only just next door, but it's upsetting. Sorry, I was getting a notification on my phone. I had to check. Alright, where the fuck am I going? Where am I? What kind of place of residence am I living in? Fuck is going on outside? Oh no. Alright, don't like the red. Don't like that at all. Gonna just... Oh... Okay. You know what? That's why there's two doors. Because the other one will contain something and be open. Perfect. The fuck? Oh! 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 What the fuck, this? Why? I'm a big baby. Alright. I'll try one way of trying to not look. Just don't go near it. You know what? You don't go near it. Don't put them in the light, and it won't attack you. There's another one. Alright, sachet to the left. Okay, that one's like on the wall. It's a wall rider. No! We have similar patterns. I'm just really... Oh, no. That one was a trick. This was a trap. You try to fucking take a shortcut to this door? What kind of hellhole am I in? Why is it me, Meowie, Meowzers, Meow mix, and just a demons? What kind of fucking life do we live? Why do I immediately feel like this is a trap? Oh, you gotta fucking kidding me. Fuck do you mean it's locked? Oh no. Handy. Ah! Oh no! I don't know if there's a way to pause the game. Needed a drink. I hate you. Hug the edges. Hug the edges. Hug the edges. Do I even dare go that way? Sorry, I'm clicking around things. Forgot that if I clicked that window, the audio would cut. Like, I'm afraid, but also curiosity. I'd rather get my answer like that. Ah! Oh! 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 Oh no! I'm making bad noises. Meowie! Oh, I'm so scared. I just want to hold you. Oh, yeah. Can I tide over with the one other food that I have? No! Sorry, Meowmie. We've got to, cut the budget. We gotta tighten our rations, Meowmie. One food a day. One piece of fish a day, so I don't have to go back out tomorrow. But apparently Meowmie will not... Meowmie doesn't understand the hell I go through. The literal hell. Well, that's no good. Oh. Oh, my bad. I forgot to hold. What the okay. I can't. No, the sound. I want to quit. The music's changed. I need to find some medicine. This fucking sucks. I don't know why I keep checking the litter box. I keep thinking like there's gonna be something I can do with the litter box. That is not the case. Sure. I just don't want her. I don't want Meowmie sitting like a sick blob on the ground. Oh, fuck. Fucking of course. Oh, they're moving. Oh, they're moving. The fuck, dude. Do you know that I'm a big baby? I'm an easily startled baby. I'm jumpy. No, I can't. This is sadistic that you've done this to me. I can't believe you've done this. Just dodging these skulls as if my life and Meowmie's life is on the line. Do it for her or him. I'm not going to assume. I don't know. Do it for them. Oh no, what is that? Oh yeah, totally. Plant. I'm gonna feed the plant. Medicinal plant to Meow. I'm afraid something bad's gonna happen when I run into it. Run, run. I'm running. God. Do it for Meowmie. Do it for me. I'm gonna die of a fucking heart attack. Check your corners. Oh shit. Ah! Ah! Fuck! Oh, it's loud. Turning it down on my end. I'm gonna shit myself getting attacked. Ah! Go away. I thought I was outside of the range. Oh, there's two. You fucking piece of shit. Oh, God. Go away. Go away. Oh, they're all crowding. I can't. Go. Please. Please. I'm running out of room. Oh, this one's chasing me now. I'm getting cornered. I'm cornered. I'm done. Ah, juke. Something's gonna come get me while I'm just trying to get back to my door. Don't do it. Don't do it. Fuck me. Okay. Yes, this is much better. See, I always feel like this is a rest area. I'm afraid something's gonna come and attack me and Meowmie at the same time in our cool area. Looks like that helped. Feeling better now? I'm gonna take that as a yes. Goodnight Meowmie. Oh god. Meowmie! Meowmie! Oh no, I need to get more medicine. Oh, this is gonna fucking make me cry. I don't know if my heart can take this. For many reasons. Scared reasons, sad reasons. I assumed I was gonna have to go through this door. Nope. Choice is made for me. Me. This is a horror trope. You go back to the same area, something's gonna look different, something's gonna be different. You grab the thing, your heart goes back down because it assumes that the same thing is happening when it's clearly not. I'm not just gonna come back here, grab the fucking medicine, go back, go to a room that's just completely empty again, and then be able to deliver this medicine to Meowmie. That is clearly not going to be the case. It's empty. Honestly, I blame her for thinking that the plant in the course of one night would be grown back. Like, it's extreme wishful thinking. I just don't even want to move. Something's gonna happen here. Ah, fuck, no. Stop. What kind of footprints are you? I don't want it to grab me. Meowmie, I'm sorry. We can't do anything. Ah! Oh, no. Oh, my God. My heart. Also, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sound. Is it walking on the wall? Is that what I'm supposed to infer? Whatever this... Oh. Yes. Meowmie looks hurt. Meowmie, what happened to you? This isn't good. The fuck? I don't want to play anymore. Jesus, the music is gonna give me a heart attack here. What is this? The hell? Ah! Oh no. No, what the fuck? What is that noise? What is that background noise? Stop. Stop. Please! Oh god. Stop! Leave me in my room. It's not. Oh my god, I am going to piss my pants, dude. Oh. Meow! The fuck? It had been such a warm day. It was only natural for me to open the window. You were always a curious one, but you had no idea about the danger that prowled outside. I still remember seeing your body lying there in the grass. I wished with all my heart that it was not real. That it was just a nightmare I couldn't escape. I held on to your presence in my mind. A light amidst the darkness all around me. But in the end, I couldn't escape reality. Meowmie, my one true friend. Goodnight, Meowmie. Yeah, game jam game. Oh, God, that's killer. I'm not mad. Just. I'm just like. I know as like a person, I'm like super susceptible to stories and like basically stories and stuff of loved pets yeah, dying and stuff, and like oh god. Yeah, it was a good emotional ride, for sure. Not too long. Scared me a little bit. Oh, fuck. Even just the title is good for that ending. Goodnight, Meowmie. You scroll down, the game dev links his post-mortem of the old game. Oh, hell yeah. I want to read that. Let me see. I want to see if that'll... Yeah, I'll show on stream. Okay, let me see this real quick here. This game, yeah, boost patient. Goodnight Meowmie was made in 72 hours for round 41 of Ludum Dare. The theme, I was just about to ask if there was like a theme of the game jam. as there usually tends to be. Combine two incompatible genres. Oh, so we made a narrative game combining elements from both the virtual, pet, and horror genres. That's actually really dope. And yeah, it's just like a virtual pet with the feeding and stuff, build mechanics. Awards out of 2018 Jam entries. Number 4 in audio, number 2 in mood. Promotional images. Yeah, it's not gonna. Oh shit. I bet I'm fucking around with the. Okay, special thanks for Spanish translation, changelog. Oh, here we go. Oh, do I have to not? That may not be working right. I want to read the post-mortem. Is it an easy fix problem? Yeah, if you could, because now I'm interested. I mean, it's interesting that I'm at least glad I could see what the theme of the jam was. Here we go. Oh, hell yeah. Is reading this on stream going to be interesting? I figure so. Fuck it. Let me see this. Okay. Remove the mic here just a sec. I'm going to move this to this monitor here real quick. Okay. Goodnight Meowmie post-mortem. This is a post-mortem wrap for Goodnight Meowmie. This was my 18th time competing in Ludum Dare and my 10th time working together with Zelia. We'll go with that. We've been working together for the past 4 LD games, Samurai Shaver, Goodnight Sheep, The Music Box, Raven Delivery Service, but this was actually the first time since Ludum Dare 36 in 2016 that it was just us two working alone with each other. Coming off as our first place win, last time was Samurai Shaver. Why do I feel like I've heard of Samurai Shaver before? Interesting. I was feeling up for trying something new and pushing our boundaries a bit, which we certainly did with Goodnight Meowmie. We actually struggled a lot during the first half of the jam, and I'm honestly shocked that we were able to come up with something so cohesive given how slowly we started. Is this showing up on... Oh, it's a little cut off. You'll survive. I'm reading it to you. I'm reading it to the archive here. All right, we ended up with quite a unique game, one that combined the gentle playfulness of pet furball with horror elements, which was something completely new to us. This is also the first game we've made that really tells a complete narrative story, though we came close with some previous attempts. Before we get into what actually happened during the jam and all that, let's look at our final ratings. Scores. Overall 14th. Fun 276th. Innovation 217th. Theme 115th. Graphics 42nd. Audio 4th. Mood 2nd. Average score 4.23 out of 5, it looks like. Our mood scores have really shot up over the past couple of entries. It makes a lot of sense that we did so well in the mood category. So I think one of the things that makes Goodnight Meowmie unique is the way that it juxtaposes a warm and safe feeling of comfort and companionship against a cold and dark fear of the unknown. We received several comments highlighting that aspect of the game, and I'm really happy that it managed to resonate with others in that way. Other than that, it's a solid set of scores all around. As with Goodnight Sheep, It's actually pretty cool that we were able to place so highly overall, despite a comparable, unimpressive. Yeah, despite he put AN, they put AN. Comparably unimpressive score of fun. I was actually surprised that we placed so highly in the audio category because I didn't spend all that much time on music, but I guess what I had worked well, and I did sink a lot of time into sound design and ambience, which got highlighted in the horror half of the game. Brainstorming. Oh, hell. This is actually long. I love that. I want to read it all. Here we go. The theme for this round of Loot and Dare was combine two incompatible genres, which was actually quite interesting. The brainstorming process went quite differently than usual as a result of the theme, and for a while we were thinking about random genre combinations and what kinds of games they would lead to. Eventually, we ended up with a handful of genres that seemed more interesting than the others, and discarded ones that we weren't really that interested in. We weren't going to make an FPS or an MMO or a trivia game, etc. Horror in particular was something that seemed to lead to some crazy combinations. Horror fishing, horror rhythm, horror dress up. Horror fishing would have been great. And both of us were pretty interested in what it would be like to craft a horror game. So eventually we decided on a combination of horror plus farming game, which sounded pretty unique and interesting. The initial failed idea. The idea was to take the routine comfort of a farming game like Stardew Valley and add in horror elements. So you'd be trying to grow these crops day by day, but you need to avoid creepy monsters in the dark. We had various different scenes planned, such as looking in a dark shed for seeds and tools, going to the well to refill your watering can, and of course, actually planting and watering your crops. We wanted to leverage dynamic lighting so that we'd never quite know where the monsters were, and we would have to constantly be on the lookout for them. Ideally, there would be this anxious tension between getting your farming duties done quickly versus cautiously looking around you for monsters. Sort of like the game Spaghetti, which we came across while researching about the horror genre. So, Meowmie was such a good motivator. Yes, I agree. When I got to the medicine part, I was between quitting and going on, and it was so hard, but I had to for Meowmie. So, answer me this while I continue reading this. How did you run into this game? Was it a similar thing where someone said you had to play it, and did you have someone pushing you to play it? Because if I just stumbled into this, I probably if you have a game that is doing a horror thing, unless I had someone pushing me. And the friend I got to play this quit there. Yeah, if I didn't have you doing this, if I had just somehow randomly gotten to that, found this game, I probably would not have played it past that. Also, if I assuming I didn't know anything about the game, if I for some reason thought this game was going to be a long play, then I would have been like, no. I know about itch.io a lot. I feel like I should be doing that. I'm so unfamiliar with itch.io. Just because obviously I wouldn't be playing things back, obviously, when I had a shitty laptop and stuff. And I don't think I've ever been a great curator of things, at least in games. If someone asks me opinion about games that I know, but when it comes to the indie scene, I'm so not indie stuff like this, then I'm not well versed, so I'm not good on talking about it. So I found it there and it looked cute. I had no idea it was horror. So when I walked outside the room, I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm glad that I didn't look at anything. That you stressed that it was important. I didn't see anything. I started off by delving into dynamic lighting and post-processing effects to figure out how to get the lighting working, as it was clearly going to be a key component since we were making a horror game where darkness was an important element. Zelia drew up some rough sketches that I could use as placeholder assets for the girl in the background. For the monsters, I just used the monsters from Match Girl as a placeholder. This is a first for me, as I'm usually not very prone to over-engineering things in these situations. But I usually ended up delving a bit too far and doing some extra work as probably wasn't necessary. I added some things like chromatic aberration that we didn't end up using in the final game. You can also see from the above animation that I even managed to implement dynamic shadow casting, which took quite a bit of effort to get working properly in 2D. Definitely not something that you need to set up to do out of the box. This was a really cool idea, but ultimately didn't make a lot of sense given our art style and perspective. Would have made more sense with a fully top-down perspective, which we didn't want. Yeah, I think they used, if the mix is to do two genres especially, it's quite clever that like until you immediately head outside your room, not seeing the horror elements at all or suspecting it if you had no idea until you head out the first door. It's good. The good news was that the dynamic lighting system with the flashlight and the grainy noise filter looked great, so that was one big implementation aspect out of the way. The bad news was that we were really having a lot of trouble with both the actual gameplay and the entire overarching narrative. We had these very rough ideas in our head. For example, you do various actions with the crops while avoiding these monsters, but when we actually sat down to think about it, having a bunch of monsters wandering around in an open field didn't quite seem too interesting or suspenseful. We thought about having some sort of stealth-based gameplay, but it was really hard to pin it all down into something concrete. More importantly, we really couldn't figure out what the whole point of the crops was. Supposedly you were growing them in order to accomplish some objective, feed yourself, produce energy, provide light, but we couldn't really figure out what the narrative was or how it was supposed to end. We also had this whole other idea about a recurring ghost that would show up every so often as sort of the key antagonist and would represent loss/the past. But again, we were having a hard time figuring out how that was actually supposed to play out. Everything about the project was pretty vague, and even worse, it was quickly becoming clear that we needed to cut it all down to something more manageable to have a chance of getting it done in time. Introducing Meowmie. By this time, it was Saturday afternoon/evening, and we were feeling pretty demotivated. It was getting pretty clear that we needed to stop and rethink things. After stepping away from the project for a while, Zelia eventually came up with the idea of getting rid of the farming aspect since it felt really tacked on anyways, instead making the game about caring for a cat. It provides the comforting atmosphere that we originally wanted with the farming half of the game, but never really achieved it at all, and also provided a reason for going outside the bedroom, which was the safe space, finding food for Meowmie. Spoiler warning. If you haven't already played, okay. Zelia also figured out the overarching story arc of the game. The story of the girl who had lost Meowmie after leaving the window open one day. Came up with a rough outline of the story spread across seven different in-game days. Then ended up cutting it down to 5 days since we needed to make sure we could finish in time. It was Saturday night. We lost a lot of time trying to figure out how to get the whole farming thing to work and then scrapping it entirely, but we had no idea that we were both behind, as well as a plan for how it would work. The big push. We worked through Sunday and finally were feeling like we were heading in the right direction, but we weren't really close to being done with even half of the game yet. I mentioned earlier how impressed I was at the moment of content that we were able to fit into even the initial compo version of the game. And that's because we basically made the majority of the game on Monday, the last day of the jam. Just for fun, I went back and checked out the version of the game that we had at the end of Sunday night. Here's a list of things I hadn't done yet at that point. All graphics and animations for the girl, Meowmie, the monsters, the footprint chase sequences and food, all UI and dialogue graphics, literally everything that happens in day 3, 4, and 5. The entire ending sequence, title screen credits, 5 new room layouts, including the ending sequence, behavior of the eyeball monsters, the footstep event that happened at the end of day 2, the chase sequence in day 2, and chase sequences in general. It's worth noting that we spent an extra 4 hours after the submission deadline finishing the entire ending flow, title screen, and credit sequence. So from roughly 11 a.m. until 11 p.m. on Monday, we basically worked nonstop to put all these things in. It's perhaps the most stressful Ludum Dare ever, because even though we had a plan, everything was coming together last minute. It was really not clear at all that we'd be able to finish. There were still several major problems that we needed to tackle during these last 12 hours too. The ending sequence, for example, was initially supposed to involve walking outside and seeing Meowmie's grave, as it is in the post-jam version, but at the time we simply didn't have any assets for the outdoor scene, so we had to come up with a completely different ending sequence on the fly since we wouldn't have time to get that scene drawn. Because we were so strapped for time, we also didn't get to work as collaboratively collaboratively as we would have liked, since we were just heads down working most of the time. I ended up writing most of the dialogue in the game myself, as well as implementing most of the virtual pet aspects without much input from Zelia, since she was busy working on all the animations and artwork all day. It was really stressful trying to figure out everything on the spot, but the only thing we could really do was reference the plan and trust in each other to execute on it to the best of our ability. Somehow we managed to pull it all together at the end, though. It's an amazing feeling looking back on just how much we had created in such a short time. There's still many flaws and missing things that we eventually added to the post-jam version, but we had created what felt like an actual meaningful narrative in a really short time. We have always wanted to really tell meaningful stories with our games, but have never really managed to successfully do so before, so I think Goodnight Meowmie was very significant to both of us for that reason. I'm just curious what they're... I mean, I'm gonna fucking read this. There's like audio things. Dope. Okay. Here we go. Speaking of which, and itch.io, there was that racial equality bundle thing that I bought, I guess a few months back now, 2 months back, I don't know. And I did open that bundle up, and I was just looking. There's like 59 pages of things to go through, but I was curiously just like, wonder if someday I should just randomly go through this and pick random things to just check out on stream or something. Because there's a lot of small stuff in there for sure. Some big stuff, but small stuff as well. Designing for horror. We have gotten a lot of feedback on how frightening the horror parts of the game are. Yeah, like me. And even several people told us they couldn't handle it and had to stop playing, which really surprised us because this is our first time working with horror as a genre. We're definitely figuring out as we went along. Yes, I saw a short hike from there, and I've been told from a source that I trust that short hike is extremely good, or extremely decently good, very good. So I might check that out. One of the first things I realized when I started doing research into how to effectively design for horror in games is that there are very few great examples of horror done well in 2D games at all. There's a plethora of 3D first-person horror games to reference, of course, but the 2D games that were actually very few really informative examples. Lone Survivor. I have Lone Survivor. I think I've played Lone Survivor for like 5 minutes just to check out what it was. But I think I currently have that. And the only reason I haven't played it is because I'm a baby. I love Lone Survivor, but to me it really leans hard on the survival aspect of survival horror rather than actually being plain scary, though it does have some cool stealth horror gameplay moments. Yumaniki, of course, deserves to be mentioned, but again, it's not really a horror game per se, so some of you may find it creepy. To me, the strength of Yumaniki is in its sense of exploration and wonder, feeling that you could see just about anything if you keep wandering in the dream world. There's also older games like Clock Tower, which I think serve as good illustrations of certain concepts. Able to hide during chase scenes, but in the end, Clock Tower. And of course, there are a ton of games that rely heavily on jump scares and chase sequences, like Ib and The Witch's House. Jump scares and chase sequences are, of course, components of horror, but we really want to apply them effectively rather than leaning on them as a crutch. Good. Since it was very difficult to reference existing examples of 2D horror done well, we ended up thinking about and researching a lot of ideas and concepts that have been applied to 3D horror games, trying to translate them to our game. We thought about games such as PT and Little Nightmares. Interesting 2 examples. So we were trying to figure out how to design our horror elements. PT still have on my PS4, and will be a reason I never get rid of my PS4. Of course, we were facing pretty heavy time constraints, so we didn't have the opportunity to go super in depth with our horror design, but we tried our best to draw from a few key realizations. Suspense and anticipation through uncertainty. This article was probably the best, most helpful write-up we came across, and I highly recommend it as a resource for trying to understand the psychology behind effective horror games. One of the keys toward creating an actual frightening experience is to build up suspense and anticipation through uncertainty. Feeling where a player feels that something terrible is going to happen, but they have no idea what it will be. I'm pretty sure I voiced that exact sentiment while I was playing that. They know me. And more importantly, when it will occur. This is why playing into established horror tropes, I literally called, it is so common. They signal to the player that you ought to be afraid, which builds this anticipation. Yeah, I very accurately voiced that during that one section. For Goodnight Meowmie, as soon as you step outside the bedroom, you get hit by a completely different atmosphere. That cues you into the fact that something is wrong. More importantly, the darkness prevents you from seeing everything on the screen. So there's certainly there's uncertainty about where any danger could be. Since you only have a narrow cone of light, scary things could potentially be right next to you or behind you without you knowing it. These first two screens actually don't contain anything that can possibly harm or scare you. This will be significant later on. Notice that when you can see the entire room layout like this, there's less feeling of anxiety because everything is in plain view. There's no feeling of exploration since you already know exactly where the doors in each area are. These two rooms serve as sort of a build-up for what's to come, just like a long drawn-out sequence in a horror film. Monster behavior. In the third screen, we introduced the monsters of the game. In the original combo version of the game, there were creepy eyeball monsters that would snap open when you passed by. Let me see this. Can that be seen on screen? Yeah, good. But in the post-gen version, we changed these to be bloody animal skulls to tie in more with the narrative. Yeah, those eyeballs are fucking... Ugh. Like, the skulls do fit, it seems more narrative. But they're also, like, a slightly more random looking. Like, eyeball monsters seems like a thing in horror that would be, like, a thing that would chase you. More than a skull, if that makes sense. The actual behavior of the monsters took a few tries to get right. For day 2, they are all stationary, with a certain activation radius that causes them to trigger with a sharp ping sound and move towards you. On the left, you can see an early version of the monster behavior, where they slowly drift towards you once they activate, stopping once you move outside that radius. Oh, okay. This worked well with screen distortion effects. There's a feeling of, is it going to get me as you try to rush by one of them? In the end, though, we decided to change up the monsters pretty drastically to what you see in the animation on the right. Now you just have to sneak by the monsters completely, because once they activate, they latch onto you very quickly and you can't escape. This ultimately made them feel much more threatening and added to the feeling of tiptoeing around landmines. In day 3, you need to walk through a large room that features a handful of the monsters, except this time they could slowly wander around the room instead of staying still. So natural progression works really well because now you realize the danger actually could be approaching from behind you or to the side and you wouldn't be able to see it. Even better, in order to shine your light towards the direction, you need to walk towards it, which potentially brings you closer to danger. So there's also this tension between moving away from something versus being able to see it. Yeah, that's good. Hallway scene. This is where our first chase scene happens when I wanted to play with anticipation and suspense. Just a little bit more in this room. I'm also probably not going to play another game tonight. I think this was about a good length, and then this post-mortem thing is actually super interesting to me to just read over. First off, there's no ambient music in this hallway, which provides a very different atmosphere than the previous screens. I will never be able to make games, but I'm fascinated by making games. I'm fascinated by the inner workings of, like, what's the term I'm looking for? The directing of games, kind of. It's probably closer to accurate. When you reach the end of the hallway, you find the food you were searching for, but nothing happens when you take it. You just walk back to the entrance. Then this happens, because you already just saw the rest of the hallway. There's only one place to go, back to the end of the hallway, so something will probably happen there. And then at the end of the hallway, you find nothing more than the key to get out. Maybe nothing will happen after all. It's funny, because while I was playing, and then I think Maybe not during this section, but then I voiced it during the medicine part where I was like, yeah, that's the whole thing. That's how you make a horror. Finally, after all that, we get our first chase sequence, running away from the red footprints. This chase sequence perhaps isn't the most exciting or well executed. Perhaps it would have worked better to have a jump scare. Well, I don't like jump scares, with something appearing as you near the exit, or to have a faster pace chasing, or one with more obstacles and tension. But I think it's worth noting how much time is spent on anticipation of the chase sequence versus how long the chase actually lasts. Playing with that expectation is a key component of horror, I think. You can imagine how the scene would play out differently and the footstep chase sequence occurred right after you picked up the food. That's already the most obvious thing for the big scary thing to happen. There wouldn't be nearly as much impact. Yeah, just fucking run. I obviously I didn't want to see what would happen, but do you know what happens if you get caught by the footsteps? Does it actually? Or maybe I'll find out by reading more. But does the screen just go dark, or do we actually see something? Something that's important to understand about horror is that the number of things that actually harm or hinder you tends to actually be significantly less than with an action-oriented game. It's really more about the anticipation of those things and the cognitive dissonance between when they happen versus when you expect them to happen. In an action game, there are a ton of obstacles that hinder you, but you generally know way ahead of time how it's all going to play out. In a horror game, there's only one or two things that end up happening, but you have no idea what or when they will be. You die like with the skulls. Okay. Jump scares are terribly overused in a lot of second-rate horror games because they're the easiest, most brain-dead way to shock and frighten someone. Done well, they can provide a vivid moment of fear that serves to punctuate all the anticipation that's been building up through the rest of the game. Done poorly, they make players feel frustrated and almost cheated. I think the key here is to make the player feel like it was their own fault they were caught off guard, rather than making them feel like there was no possible way they could have been prepared for the jump scare. Again, this article really explains it well. I actually only have one true jump scare in the game, and it's not super intense, but still worth talking about. For the one, we tried to time it during a time when you might be starting to not be so cautious anymore. Think about a classic horror scene where there's a long, drawn-out build-up, rising suspense, and cacophonic strings, and then nothing happens. The protagonist and viewer breathes a sigh of relief, turns around, and bam! It's when the big bad thing gets them. It's so cliche at this point that's almost expected, but the concept as a whole is still relevant. Remember, this hallway is the first dark hallway that you walk through, with only one exit on each end. Because you already walked through it before, your brain probably registers it being a safe place. You already cleared it out, so to speak, but then you get these sudden red footprints that appear with really heavy thump sounds. Yeah. Since the hallway feels like a known quantity, you might not feel like there's much reason to pay close attention, keep your guard up, so you might already be thinking about what will happen next after this point. When a jump scare happens during a moment when your cognitive load is focused somewhere else, there's this brief moment where your mind gets flipped over and goes into a sudden state of shock, which is what we're aiming for. I think it's the situation that makes you as a player think I got distracted and let my guard down, you got me good, rather than I was totally expected something, but it happened completely random and there's no way I could have known. That was a cheap trick. Meowmie. Something crazy happened on Monday as I was trying to figure out the dialogue for the ending of the game. I started crying. I'd become really emotionally invested in the story, something that had never happened for any of the other games I worked on. Having witnessed the passing away of a pet myself just half a year ago, thinking about Meowmie really stirred up my feelings, though it was painful to think about. I like to believe that having those feelings and memories to draw upon really helped me understand the story and feelings that we're trying to convey. I really have always wanted to touch upon the subject of loss and moving on in our games because we feel strongly about it, but we have never been able to successfully do it before. Goodnight Meowmie is a bit of a milestone for us in that way, I think. The ending. We really struggled to put together something meaningful and cohesive for the ending because we were running so short on time. Even during the mission hour itself, we were still in the middle of trying to figure out how the story was going to end. We had initially planned on the story ending with the girl going outside and seeing Meowmie's grave, but that wasn't an option because we didn't have time to create any of those assets for the outdoor scene. You end up with this replacement ending instead. The girl thinks about her memories with Meowmie and then comes to terms with the fact that Meowmie has passed away, but still keeps Meowmie in her mind. She knows that Meowmie will never be real again, but she's content with being with Meowmie in spirit and continue to think about Meowmie. We play the ending loop back to the beginning with Goodnight Meowmie being the last words that the girl says to the spirit of Meowmie. I like that this ending provides a sort of hope for the future. Ultimately, though, it's really hard to actually understand what had happened. I think the wording of the ending sequence didn't make it clear enough that Meowmie's passing away had happened in the past before the game had started, and then it was super confusing that the girl still got to be with Meowmie in the end. More importantly, I think it felt dishonest to have such a hopeful and happy ending where the girl and Meowmie still got to be together. After Ludum Dare, we set out to rework the ending into something closer to what we had talked about in the beginning. Before we ran out of time, it took a bunch of iteration to figure out the design of the outdoors scene, but Zelia did a great job on it. In this ending, the girl still goes through her memories of Meowmie like before, but this time instead of returning to the bedroom together with Meowmie, final scene is outdoors where you walk to Meowmie's grave for the final Goodnight Meowmie. It's a relatively straightforward scene and not much of the dialogue ended up changing very much, but it actually took quite a while to really settle on exactly how this ending would work out. It was very tricky to get to the right balance of tone, also convey what we wanted to without being subtle. After the final fade to black, the credits roll. The very last thing you see before the game wraps around the title screen is a scene with "Thank you for playing" and the girl holding Meowmie while walking across the screen. Felt really strongly about this scene and hope that it caps the experience off with a nice feeling at the very end. Visual effects. It's very rare that I have something technically interesting to talk about. For one of my game jam entries that isn't just dealing with syncing music to gameplay, but one of the more unique things about working on this project was crafting visual effects for the nighttime horror sections. Heavily leveraged a few lighting and shading effects, which I'll try to break down here. For reference, here's what the in-game rendering looks like. And here's the same thing with absolutely no effects or lighting applied. Wow, it's quite drastic, yeah. Yeah, the static, it's quite an effect. As usual, we're using Unity Sprite Render to draw a character sprite in the background. It's a tile map handled by Tilted to Unity, which integrates Tilted with Unity. I know Unity has its own newfangled tile map support now as well, but I hadn't gotten a chance to play around with it yet. Now we add per pixel dynamic lighting. This is an effect that's not always super common for 2D games depending on how you implement it. It can actually look really cheap and bad. The only other time I'd ever used dynamic lighting for a 2D game was for Magic Girl. She used a different approach, I think. I'm pretty sure I just cut out circular shapes into a black texture and then rendered the black texture with holes on top of everything else. Anyhow, for Goodnight Meowmie, the bulk of the work is done by the main pixel shader, which is a hacked up version of Unity's sprite shaders. That project actually has support for quite a number of fancy features like normal maps and such, but we didn't use any of it. Main change I made to the shader was limiting the maximum brightness of a pixel to be whatever it was in the original asset. The original shader just let you keep on adding light without limits until your sprite is just entirely white, but I wanted fully lit to look like the original artwork and not any brighter. The whole system is actually pretty janky, as there's no such thing as 2D light in Unity, so I'm actually using 3D point lights, spheres, to cast light over a circular area. The cone of light cast by the girl's lantern is actually another point light, but using Unity's light cookie feature to shape the light according to a triangle-shaped mask that I generated through in GIMP. If I were to do a larger and more serious project, I would definitely rework this whole system to be cleaner to work with. The main other thing that happened is a post-processing noise grain effect applied to the entire screen. This has the end result of turning the soft lighting gradients into those really fuzzy and noisy areas. Specifically in the darker parts, I used the old version of Unity's noise and grain image effect, which has since been replaced by the grain effect, since it's implemented a bit differently and gives you a bit more control over how the effect is applied to light versus dark areas. This noise is also randomized per frame, like static on a TV. Do people in this day and age still know what that looks like? So there's a lot of motion in these pixels, which works to emphasize the fact that the dark areas are more uncertain and thus more dangerous. Very last thing that's added is a particle system that simulates these dust-like particles that float and drift around on the screen. They're pretty subtle, so you may not even have noticed them consciously in-game. No, I saw it, and I kept being like, what is that? But they really help to give a sense of life to the space. It really makes a difference to an environment when there's at least something moving, as opposed to just an entirely static background. Here's a GIF where I've turned up the size and amount of those particles higher than normal so you can see them in action. Yep. Some code. Okay. course, the actual particle motion could be handled in whatever way you want. Effect angle and speed separately be drawn towards a specific point. These particles use sprite rendering. The actual sprite is just a single white pixel, using the same pixel lit shader as everything else, so that they are also affected by lighting. There's also an added quirk, where because I'm also moving the particles in the z-axis, because my light shaped are actual spheres, the particles sometimes move in front or behind the light spheres, meaning they'll show up as darker even though they are within the 2D circle of light. This wasn't intentionally pinned, but obviously, I don't know where I got that word, but provides a nice effect, since particles have a nice gradation between white and black, depending on their motion. When a monster closes in on you, we add some additional effects to mess with the screen so it gets all distorted and creepy looking. First thing we do is crank up the noise and grain effects to the max. This monster gets closer and closer, which means now it's being applied to both light and dark areas, like with full strength. We also apply red color weighting, so that the whole screen gets tinted red. And here's the cool part, we apply an edge detection effect, which adds black edges to the rendered images wherever there are significant color differences. This is another unique image effect. We increase the sample distance as the monster gets closer, which increases the aggressiveness of the effect, the way that it bleeds into neighboring areas. Yeah, that's really actually kind of cool. And then lastly, audio design. While the music for Goodnight Meowmie was very simplistic, I used more or less the same melody for the entire game, just arranged differently. The audio design for some of the sound effects were actually somewhat interesting to work with. While many of the sound effects, footsteps, doors opening and closing, were free resources found in freesound.org, there were several that I worked on or modified myself. For the meowing sounds that Meowmie made, oh, cute, I spent a brief amount of time looking through cat sounds on Freesound, but I decided to synthesize Meowmie's voice instead, since that would give me a lot more control over the expressions and a more consistent sound overall. The timbre of the sound is real simple. It's mainly just a single triangle wave with another softer one an octave above for some added richness. Then I just played around with pitch bends of varying lengths and amounts to generate a handful of different expressions. It's so interesting how when you're with those sound effects in game, when you're actually playing and you're actually looking at, in this case, the cat Meowmie, like how you're like, oh, that's such an animalistic like sound, and then when you're just listening to the sound here with no reference point to like anchor the sound to, that you could totally just see a dude just fucking around with some like audio effects. Just making random noises. Exactly. Heavily pitching sounds down or by time stretching them came in handy for generating creepy ambient noises. For one of the ambient soundtracks, I simply took those four percussive impact samples and pitch them down anywhere between 2400 and 4800 cents. It's super simple to do, and the end result is this. During the final chase sequence, there's an interesting garbled sound that rises in intensity as you make your way back to the bedroom. The sound is sort of a curious origin. It's actually a carryover from the initial failed horror farming game work, where we were throwing around the idea of a persistent, ghostly female antagonist that was haunting you throughout the game. I wanted to try starting with some audio material that fit the source of the sound, in this case a human voice, and distorting it until it sounded real creepy. The idea is that even though you're garbling the sound, you still have the timbre of the original sound in there, so there's some level of subconscious association. Here's the original voice audio I started with, sampled from an interview of some sort.
Well, as always when one visits Palestinians with great hospitality and warmth, although people were...
And then I made 4 different layered sounds that would play on top of each other. Layer 1 is reversed and pitched down by about 25%. So applied some formant filtering, basically modifying the throat shape of the sound and some light audio degradation. Layer 2 is also reversed and is pitched down to half the original speed. This one has some different formant filtering, a stereo delay effect, and 2 different audio degradation types applied to it. Layer 3 is reversed, pitched up by about 20%, and run through some glitching plugins that shuffle around the sections of the sound, apply some time-based filtering to them. Well, that one's interesting. And then layer 4 is reversed and pitched down to a quarter of the original speed to run through an echo effect. And then combining all 4 layers yields the final sound texture. Closing remarks. Well, this project has really been a journey. Thank you for those who actually read these ramblings, like me. I had quite a lot to say this time, it seems. I'm really glad we were able to make this game together, and I'm excited to see what we can come up in the future as we become more comfortable weaving narratives into our games. Very cool. I always do have a soft spot for reading post-mortems games. I just find the thinkings of the process of making through a game to be very interesting, if that makes sense. But yeah, that was really cool, and I know it might not have been the most exciting thing to just watch as I sit and read. But especially if you're watching archived and you found that in the game interesting, I think at least the postmortem is something which you don't have to watch. But no, that was really cool. Like I said at the top, or maybe not at the top, maybe once I finish the game, I'm down from Udis to anyone else, really. Anyone that I trust. It has to be someone I trust. Game submissions, small stuff especially, is always going to be preferable. Especially with like indie stuff, I'm always preferable to shorter experiences that I can get numerous of to like mix in and play. I'm always curious to see. Maybe stuff that isn't always just 100% scary. No, hey, thank you. I appreciate, and honestly, like I said at the top, I totally think it's cool. Whether it's like a music recommendation, a movie recommendation, like if someone recommends something, I'm like, oh, they actually thought of like me as like a what would he be interested in kind of thing. If that makes sense, it means a lot. Yeah, this was rough. Like I said, I have it just reminds me a lot of like growing up. My family had a lot of different pets and stuff, and it might be a slightly shitty. Oh my god, that's adorable. It might sound somewhat shitty, but one of a couple reasons of why I haven't since I've moved out and, especially finishing school and stuff, one of the reasons I haven't gone about getting a pet of my own is I do have, probably from growing up and stuff, I have lingering, like, when pets had passed away, I just get fucking wrecked, and I did as a kid, and I understand the whole you give them a good life before that ends up eventually happening and shit, but one of the few reasons why I haven't seriously 100% considered and haven't actually going about getting a pet is that reason. So it's kind of sad, and this was actually extremely sad. But I definitely enjoyed playing it. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Fuck, I mean, I can just talk about fucking family pets. I had the last family pet that had passed away not too long ago, a year or two ago. It was a family pet of ours that we all obviously loved, and named Maggie, the dog. And she had a really rough, like, last year or two of her life. And there was a moment where I was about to fly home for, like, my normal, like, yearly trip home to see family and stuff. And it was like Maggie had been having, like, a rough, like, month. It was cancer stuff, and this was after she had one of her legs amputated, and it was just getting really bad. And the thought was, like, I was going to be able to get through, or, you know, she was going to be able to have, like, make it, like, one more week alive, and then I'd be able to go home for a couple days, see everyone, and see Maggie before she had to be put down. And it was like 3 days before my flight was scheduled to leave. And I remember just my mom calling me just wrecked and being super sad and explaining it to me, and obviously me being really upset and her just feeling really bad for the whole situation. That because for the past week I'd been like, I'm just really excited to be able to obviously see everyone, but really see Maggie before obviously that had happened. And she just had to explain to me that they had to go to the vet again, and it was explained that, like, they could have maybe kept her alive for another 3 days to selfishly let me see her one last time before that. But yeah, ultimately it was decided that that was not going to be the case. And I just remember the few days before I flew back home just being fucking wrecked and being upset. And that was honestly the last, like, family pet and, like, pet that I felt some kind of, like, slight ownership to, if that makes sense. And since then, it's just, again, I feel almost selfish saying it, but partly the selfish reason why I haven't 100% considered or fully taken the steps to get a pet after, just because, like, it just wrecks me. The thought that that's eventually down the pipeline for some reason just, yeah. I mean, I assume at some point in my life I'll get over that, because I honestly do love pets. I'm a massive cat and dog person. I love cats and dogs. I don't have allegiance towards one over the other, but I love them both. But someday that'll change for sure. Hell, especially if I'm gonna be single for the rest of my life, like I actually think it's gonna be the case. At some point in my life, I've got to fucking look into actually caring for someone other than myself. Someday, just not immediately. But yeah, sorry to be a downer note. I guess it was a downer game. But I got real there for a second. But yeah, I definitely appreciated this, and like I said, I will almost 100%. If you ever have anything else you want to recommend to me, I'm definitely game for getting to it at some point. And then, like I said, if you happen to catch this archived, if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I either know this Austin guy or would like to know him, I don't know. But don't recommend shit games. If you recommend just the worst piece of things, I lose all trust in you, and you don't want that, I don't think. It didn't sound very threatening. I meant it to sound more threatening than it actually ended up being. But yeah, I appreciate you tonight. This was a nice, chill Saturday night game, stream, and reading. So nothing else tonight. I think I'll just take up the rest of the night off game-wise and stuff. I'll catch it back up on archives, getting those up on YouTube. Which the quality's look great. I appreciate it. Probably resume Bioshock tomorrow. Probably midday stream tomorrow, Sunday night, or Sunday, because I'll probably be busier at some point early Sunday, and then late Sunday I'll be busy getting ready for the week and stuff, so that'll be that. Remember, extra credit homework assignments if you choose to do it sometime in the near future. I would guess maybe even as soon as next weekend, Friday around Saturday. I'm going to heavily consider starting playing Danganronpa V3, which I'm excited to play even if I wasn't playing on stream, but now that I have the option of playing it on stream, I have it. I'm actually really excited to do it on stream. I've always wanted to do the Danganronpa games on stream, but obviously I played 1 and 2 on the Vita handheld, and then Ultra Despair Girls I played prior to having this set up, and I couldn't do it through the PS4 natively. So if you don't know what happens in Danganronpa and you want to follow along in that game, which I think it will be a very fun series, catch up, read a summary of the game, watch a video. I assume there's probably at this point some good videos on YouTube that recap the plots of the first 2 games and that side game fairly well to set us up for 3, I would assume. So you got about a week for that if you choose to, if you want to follow along in Danganronpa V3, which would be a fun time. But before that, I guess we'll set up next week a bit. Like I said, tomorrow, probably a Bioshock stream for a bit. Tuesday, on PS Plus, a game comes out called Fall Guys. And so I assume Tuesday after work, I'll want to check that out for Tuesday's stream. Don't know what I'd be doing Monday. Thursday, obviously, I probably wouldn't stream. I got things on Thursdays. And then, like I said, Friday or Saturday, we'll start Danganronpa. That's the initial schedule for next week. Other than that, I appreciate you joining me for this night. Hope your rest of your Saturday is good. And Sunday, I guess, technically. I'm going to take it easy for the rest of the night, and I will see you later. Really hope this was worth it. I really hope you enjoyed it. Other than me being scared and exposing my fraidy cat ways, I definitely enjoyed it. Yeah. You have a good night as well. You clipped 2? I didn't even see the clips come through. Oh, wait. No, that link is to the postmortem. I didn't see. Oh, it's probably because I don't have. Okay. I see. Oh. They didn't pop up. Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't see them pop up before, and then for a second I was like, oh, I saw them on the on Twitch side, but not through Streamlabs side. So I thought for a while maybe they just wouldn't pop up on that, but now there they are. I'm gonna check those out definitely. All right, have a nice rest of your night. I will talk to you later, and maybe see you tomorrow. Maybe see you some other time next week. See ya.